Okay, thank you for watching the video today. I was having trouble with the Adobe Connect, so I'm going to use Zoom today, which is also Butler approved. So I'm going to share my screen so we can pull up Chapter 2 PowerPoint. And we had stopped at the eustress, the good stress. So just want to reiterate, this is the eustress. So this is what you want to look at for the quiz. But the eustress is a controlled or productive stress that can give a competitive edge. So this is what can help motivate some of your employees whenever you're actually a manager. But you don't want it to turn into the distress, which is when the stress is just too much and they start to let the stress overtake their body and their cognitive thoughts. Stress is personal. Individual differences people have in their relationships to stress and how they handle stress. So looking at the transactional theory of stress, this suggests the negative effects of stress are an interaction between the person and the environment. So if you could think about that, that's probably true. Different people find different things stressful. Like you may think it's stressful going to the dentist and someone else might not. And so you're going to react in different ways. So the different ways that people react, then the transactional theory explains it in what the theory calls appraisal steps. So there's a primary appraisal in this step where you're evaluating if this situation is a stressful situation, if it's a stressor for you. If it's not, it stops there. If you determine, if you're in that primary appraisal, you determine the situation is stressful, then you go into the secondary appraisal mode. And this is where you determine how to respond to that stressor. And the secondary appraisal is when people either don't have the coping skills to deal with stress, or this is where they do, and then they actually can overcome the stressful situation. Something that we do need to mention, and especially since Butler students, you're very high achieving students, and sometimes that is correlated with the type A behavior patterns. Characteristics of type A people with this characteristic, well, it's really associated with coronary heart disease. The achievement orientation of that particular characteristic is great. And the perfectionism isn't necessarily a stressor, but can end up being one. But the hostility of this type of personality is what really causes the component that is related to heart disease. So I think that that's important that you understand that, and also as a manager that you pick up on this in your employees. Another difference in people in relation to stress is the locus of control. And this is the extent to which we believe we can control our own environment. So some people believe this and some people don't. So the internal locus of control is the belief that you can control your own environment. In general, having that internal locus of control is helpful because you believe you can make a difference. If you believe you can make a difference, then you actually take action to make that difference. However, the opposite of that is external locus of control. This is the belief that sources outside of you control your environment. So people who believe in fate and luck, and I'm sure all of you have had those friends that say that everybody else is doing stuff to them. It's never their fault. They can't get any breaks. Well, so they believe in the external locus of control. The danger of that is that they don't take the necessary actions then, and they don't take control of their own actions to move toward a better way to handle stress. And someone with high self-efficacy is someone who can perform better. They are more motivated and they have lower stress and burnout. And this is what you should look for in employees whenever you're actually hiring people. This is a personal assessment. A person finds that how well that they can execute actions necessary to handle a particular situation. So good leaders actually develop high self-efficacy because they've been through experiences in their life or during the work environment, that they know what to do then if they come across the similar situation. So that confidence and that self-efficacy actually increases. Other common sources of stress are traumatic events or daily hassles. So traumatic events are actually life-changing events, something significant. Daily hassles are just minor annoyances and obstacles that cause stress as well, though, but like traffic jams, computer problems, interruptions. So research shows that we tend to overestimate the effects of traumatic events, but underestimate the effects of daily hassles. So some people react in a very stressful situation of a traumatic event, and they could feel like they can't get over that, right? They can't get over the hump. But then some people also feel like daily hassles pull them into a stressful environment that they can't get out of. But just knowing the differences between those two is very important. And then also it can help you refer them if you notice that people are going through traumatic events or just daily hassles, to be able to communicate with them better and see if you need to refer them on to a counselor. The role theory actually suggests that stress can result from role ambiguity or role conflict. This is very important because as a leader, you need to make sure that your employees understand their role. Because if they don't, this is when stressful situations come into play and they feel like that they don't know what they're doing in their job. And they may be reprimanded for something that they weren't doing, but it wasn't clear to them. They didn't have clear expectations of their job duties. So this is something that you should be cognizant of. And also when you're an intern, this happens a lot. If you're an intern for a company that's never had an intern before, and so they don't know what your job description is going to be. And that's when you can take charge and say, I really don't know what you want me to do or need me to do. I would feel much better if I had some more direction. And then there's role conflict, which happens. So you would have a role conflict with being a student and then being an intern. You feel like you need to do your homework, but yet other people at work are telling you you need to work more than 20 hours a week, which is the requirement for the internship, but they want you to do more. And so you're conflicted between those two roles. Another stressor in the work-life balance is work-family conflict. So this is a form of an inter-role conflict in which pressures from work and family are actually incompatible. So WIF is work interferences with family. FIW is family interferences with work. Also, stress can set in from burnout. This is a syndrome resulting from prolonged stress and depletion of resources. And then 3 components of a burnout syndrome are the emotional exhaustion, feeling drained or just that you're used up, you don't have anything else emotionally to give the job. Depersonalization, you have apathy, you're indifferent, you don't care what's going on. You've sometimes feelings of cynical feelings can set in. And also part of that burnout could be a component, reduced personal accomplishments. So you just feel like your work doesn't matter anymore. Also, there's a thing called emotional labor, which is a regulation of feelings and expressions for the benefit of the organizational goals. So surface acting can come into play in deep acting. So surface acting is when you're working, for example, you're working for AT&T and you're providing customer service and someone is really being rude to you on the phone. Well, your company's policy and the mission is that you always give good customer service no matter what, or the customer's always right. So that's when surface acting comes into play. Now, deep acting is when you're actually trying to manage your feelings so they are consistent with the emotions that you are supposed to express. So you're actually trying to change your feelings of not wanting to do, like if somebody is cursing you out and you have that surface acting of really trying to change, okay, now put yourself in that person's shoes. Okay, maybe I really do need to think about the customer being right and change my attitude toward that. Another extremely common source of stress is high demands and low control. So this means demands could be physical, intellectual, and emotional requirements of a job. And then the control is the amount of autonomy and discretion a person has on the job. So autonomy is you're in charge of your own schedule. It could be you're in charge of making decisions within your department. You're in charge of the budget within your department. Because research shows that stress is highest when demands are high, of course, but also when the control is low. Demands are high, but they can't do much about it. Strategies for managing stress. This is really important for you in your life right now because you have a lot going on, but also later on. Primary prevention strategies could be actually removing the source of stress. Obviously, that's going to help, right? And a secondary coping intervention is when you cannot remove the source of the stress. So you're going to have to still deal with it every day, like a difficult boss, and you can't leave the job. So this is where you can look for other outlets to help you, like social support from your family, meditation, exercise, other ways to deal with your stress where you can cope with that person during the day if it's a difficult boss. And this is very true about social connectedness. People with larger and more varied social networks actually tend to have better well-being, and that is because they have support systems. Everyone needs a go-to person, which is someone that you go to when you're having the best day ever or the worst day ever. So types of support that this can explain are instrumental supports like covering a shift for a colleague who's ill, emotional support, sympathy, listening, caring, that go-to person, informational support, someone that you know that you can go to if you have a problem you need to solve, and then appraisal support, someone that actually builds your self-esteem. And it's always good to surround yourself with all of these types of support. And if you have this type of support system that's strong at work, you're probably going to stay there. They talk about choking because it is a form of stress, but to avoid choking in a situation like giving your presentation, you would just try to practice behavior in a pressure situation like you would practice to your friends, and also just training your brain where it becomes automatic so nothing could trip you up. So that panic and that you trying, like your brain freezes, won't come into play. Managing your time is really, really important to help alleviate stress and just to keep you more efficient. So start with writing goals. We talked about the SMART goals. That's the best thing to do if you're working towards something and to get motivation. Follow the 80-20 rule. You need to work 80% of the time, and then 20% of the time could be having fun. Use the time management matrix, which is on this slide. Looking at all these quadrants, you will definitely want to read that because you have questions on the quiz, and you can decide just basically prioritizing things in your life to stay better, to better manage your time, which would lower your stress. Plan the work that you're going to do every day, and then actually try to get those items completed. So making a list with priorities. And doing this, you can make a to-do list each day. And A would be high priority, B, medium, C, low. But really good tips overall is just to know yourself and know when you perform the best during the day. And that's when you should get your studying done. For example, I know I'm much better in the morning than I am in the evening because I start getting tired. So I should teach in the morning because that's when I have the most energy and my brain is working the most. And of course, that's when I have coffee. So you should also fight procrastination by making a list and prioritizing. And there's what's called the 2-minute rule. And that is, if a task will take 2 minutes or less, just do it then. Don't wait, just get it done because it's not going to take that long anyway. That can help you with your procrastination. Also, getting exercise can help. And just working toward this culture of low stress, frequent and open communication, employee participation, incentives for work-life balance, and cultivate a friendly social climate. And if one person can actually change an organization. So you as a leader in that position could really cultivate this type of environment in your business. Well, that's the end of chapter 2. Good luck on your exam. If you have problems accessing the Zoom, just let me know. I don't think you need an account, so it should be okay. Oh, I'm sorry if you have problems accessing, because if you access Zoom, you would already be watching this presentation. But if you have problems with the exam, please let me know. Have a great weekend.